because even if you were to do a borehole, you can easily get water. But there is no serious infrastructure towards that. And then we have low level of awareness among the people in terms of budgeting. When we are supposed to do the budget so that you fight for, you influence the allocation of funds towards water. So the people in these areas are fairly not aware of their role. In our recommendation, we say that a policy be put in place to create an equalization fund to address the problems, so that the more money is given to these areas to improve the supply of water and infrastructure arrangement there. We also talked of improving road networks and water supply infrastructures in these areas as a priority by the county government, so that at the end of the day, we are able to access water by the majority of the people. And we also recommend that civic education be undertaken in the area so that people can be able to know how to actually participate in budget making process, so that they are able to prioritize this. Because in Kericho, they do at the ward level. So whatever you don't raise there, it may never find its way into the budget. So civic education will be more needed there. So when we talked of, I think I talked of the criteria, what we were using is that when you find in Kericho, the area that we saw green, there is Kawasco, the people are able to get water even in rivers. People are aware on how they can treat water within the facility. And I think that is the much we could capture from that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. I think hand over your map and the reasons. There's no team left. Kuna wenye wacha present? Which county is that? West Pokot, yes. Welcome, West Pokot. Yeah. The people to the other side of the Mau were blessed. I've always wondered, is Kisi water scarce with all the rivers because of the Mau? We need help for West Pokot. Another volunteer? Yeah?
Good afternoon. My name is Fabian. This is West Pokot County. I'll take less time here. In West Pokot, we have got 4 sub-counties. That is Pokot North, Pokot Central, Kapenguria, and Pokot South. And we'll find that red, the blue, and the green is that the availability of permanent rivers in those sub-counties. We found that sub-counties doesn't have permanent rivers, like Pokot North and Central. Others have got permanent rivers. The second thing is the number of boreholes. In terms of number of boreholes, you look at the quality of the water in the boreholes and the sustainability of the boreholes. Then number 3 is the number of households getting piped water. We find that in the West Pokot and Pokot South, we have got the presence of Murunyi water supply, which is nearly completion, whereby a lot of households are getting piped water. Then for recommendation, we have got a few here. Number 1 is drill more boreholes and community ownership for the sustainability of those boreholes or piped water. Then number 2 is more efforts should be directed in protecting water catchment areas and water towers in our respective sub-counties and the county. And then civic education and public awareness on the need to prioritize water in the county. Then number 4 is prioritization of water provision in resource allocation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. A very unique recommendation from West Pokot County. They need to conserve water catchment areas and water towers. I've been waiting for that, Sijaskia. That places a responsibility on all of us. Civil. Now we are shifting gears. I think our good rapporteur is speaking those very important points that will then inform our way forward. We want to shift gears to the next session that is going to take shorter than had been planned. And here we want to hear from a few individuals, both from government and civil society, who will come forward here to lead us in a panel discussion. This is going to take less than 30 minutes as it was planned. Actually, we want to take 20 minutes, after which we are going to share what is emerging as resolutions from across the counties. Then we'll end at that point with gallery walk. We'll go to what we are calling the Word Cafe, where we shall get to learn what some organizations are doing. Out here we'll find tents with cards on the table. There, Action Aid, Said Chichi, and other organizations shall be sharing what they are doing to mitigate the challenges that are creating inequalities in our counties. So I want to hand over the session to Evans, who is going to lead us. But then, as I do so, I want to invite the following panelists to move up front. Kosgei Kiprono, I don't know if the head of Kosgei Kiprono, head of planning, Baringo County. Welcome forward, sir. Then Jackton Kimtai, budget clerk, County Assembly of Baringo. Welcome, sir. Then we are having Philip Tomno, the chairperson of Baringo County Civil Society Organizations Forum, and the representative from West Pokoti County that was nominated by the head of planning, Mr. Bernard Biegon. There's someone from West Pokoti County that came to stand in for Mr. Biegon. Please, we need you to step forward to help us finalize on these sessions. Only West Pokoti is not here, yeah? It's you. Yeah? It's you. You want to be two? Yeah? Oh, there's only one chair. Karibu sana. Now, officially, I'm handing over the mic. Ours is to listen and, if possible, engage. We are guided that we'll have this discussion happening for just 20 minutes. Kindly share with us an extra microphone.
Honorable members, I know we have some people, executive, who are still around, our guests from counties, citizen groups, that is CSOs, budget champions, civic educators. Good afternoon. I promise to make the session more concrete, so I would beg for your indulgence. We are in this together. Hata mimi sijakula lunch, so we are in this together. So as you can see, the panel, the other bit, so far we have completed the political part of it. So this is a technical team. As you can see, we have familiar faces here. We are now going into the technical stuff. I think we have gotten some political commitment. So how do we move forward from here? So I will allow each one of them maybe a minute to just introduce themselves. And maybe in addition to that, you say your designation, your county, and also your role in the budget making process.
Thank you, participants. My name is Kiprono Koskei. I'm head of planning at the county treasury. I'm a senior economist. Thank you.
What's your role in the budget cycle, please?
Yeah, I'm in charge of planning process, so I begin before the budget guys came. So I play a critical role in planning all the plans, the CIDP, the annual development plans, of which it translates into the budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. By name, I'm Jackton Kimtai. I'm the clerk to the Budget and Appropriations Committee in the County Assembly of Baringo. My role as the clerk to the committee is to ensure the coordination of the budget process, to ensure that we have a seamless budget process. Thank you.
Habari ya mchana. Mimi naitwa Philip Tomno. Mimi ni mwenyekiti wa vuguvugu la mashirika yasiyo ya serikali na pia vikundi vya jamii ambayo viko hapa Baringo. Tunajiita Baringo Civil Society Forum. Jukumu hasa ni kujaribu kusiba ile gap between mwananchi ya kawaida na wale wanasimamia budget ama kutengenezwa kwa budget kupitia education, civic education, public participation na kadhalika pamoja na wenzetu.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Foben Masheti. I'm an economist in West Pokot County, sitting for my head of planning. I'm just doing the same work as my colleague here in Baringo, in terms of just getting the right prioritization of projects and items before we go to the budget cycle. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I think we have the right people here, because if there is anything that needs to be legislated, needs to be put in plans, these are the teams. So I'll go direct to the first question, and I would want Kiprono to take some time to explain. This morning there was presentations from counties, and even just a few minutes ago, of the inequalities existing. So we would want to understand. I know Kiprono at a personal level. He has been in this planning ever since, even before Vision 2030 planning. So we would want to understand your perspective. How did we arrive here? How did we arrive to the level where we have some wards or some sub-counties that are doing almost red in terms of access to water, the entire sub-county, and others are doing almost green, the entire sub-county, in terms of access to water? So what went wrong? Yeah? When did the rain start beating us?
Thank you. Planning has come a long way in Kenya, and we began at the independence level. You remember during colonial time, we had the settlers who settled in the highlands, and that's where development began. They believe that you just plan for where there is high potential. And then we came to independence, where we had sessional paper of 1965, sessional paper number 10. If you look at it, it was a trickle-down paper, whereby planning and budgeting was supposed to only for high potential areas, and then other areas will benefit. It was actually using the railway line. It was development was supposed to be done along the railway line in Kenya. So if you are far away from the railway line, development will reach you later using trickle-down effect. That means you will develop high potential areas, then it will trickle to low potential areas. Then we came to 1980s, where the World Bank and the other IMF gave structural adjustments to the African countries where they were indebted. So you remember we had our people who were retrenched. We had people who left not working. Those were adjustments that they believe that for economies to grow, we had to do adjustments in the countries. And those had ripple effect to areas where incomes were very low. So, and then from there, we came to the 1990s, where we had a district focus for rural development. Again, the systems were centralized, because planning and budgeting had been a preserve of the national government. We didn't have the counties. So somebody sitting in Nairobi will decide what will happen in West Pokot, Baringo, and the others. So it was so centralized that we could not make decisions. Then of late, in 2008, we had the Vision 2030, which again is a masterpiece or a plan that advocates for big investments. Then come devolution under the new constitution is when the counties are given priorities to plan for themselves.
Thank you. I wanted the pre-devolution first, the history.
Before devolution, we had the Vision 2030. That is in 2008. It's a blueprint that sees Kenya as a one country and gives opportunities. The plan is so, they saw investments, huge investments, as a direction that the government, national government could take. And then, that was prior to devolution. But now, the decisions also were still made in Nairobi. We were not given the opportunities. They were looking the map of Kenya and deciding what to place, which project where in the country. And if you look at it, it is a massive plan and requires a lot of resources. And then we came to 2010, where there was a watershed of new constitution, is where now we came to devolve functions, where planning now shifted from centralized system to our system that we are using currently, where it has gone down further to the wards or even to the villages. So the structure even has changed from centralized system. Public participation used to occur only maybe at the district level under the leadership of the commissioner, but now it is the common mwananchi that does the plan and also does the monitoring and evaluation and even implementation of the projects. Thank you.
Thank you for that rich history of our development. So maybe to the other panelists, I know a number of you have also been there. Is there anything you want to agree with him differently? Yeah, of what he has said?
Thank you. I think...
please. A minute.
Oh, a minute. I think one of the key issues that is brought about is the issue of public participation. In as much as devolution brought about public participation and enhanced the involvement of the people, if you look at the gaps that were being explained in those maps, one of the key gaps is related to public participation, in that the areas where you have red are the areas where you have very low levels of public participation. There is still that attitude of projects being government projects as opposed to being owned by the people. If you go to a place like Tiati, people still believe that projects are not for them, it's for the government. So we need to change that mindset. As much as public participation is a good product, but we need to entrench it more, and it would be good if civil society and other players take an active role in ensuring that civic engagement is enhanced. Thank you.
Thank you. So there was no public participation before devolution that led to those decisions being made? I don't know.
There was public participation, but at a higher level, because the meetings before devolution used to occur maybe at a divisional level, but they were much controlled by the bureaucratic government, and the decisions that were made by the people will go to Nairobi, and then they are being decided which ones to be funded and which ones not to be funded. So the Mwananchi was not taking charge of what has been decided to be implemented.
Thank you for that clarity. Tomno, do you want to say something from CSO perspective?
Okay, jambo ningependa kuongezea kwa yale wenzangu wamesema ni kwamba lazima tuseme ya ukweli, kulikuwa na siasa ya kutenga na kutengana. That is before devolution. Our politics was based on, if I get this position, then my people come first. And you could see that disparity ilitokezea Baringo vizuri sana. And nitaongezea pia representation. Communities or areas that were well represented at the center had resources going their place. I would go for a case of Tiati. Tiati had the first elected member of parliament actually originating from Baringo North. So you could imagine that kind of marginalization which started then. That is something that I wanted to add. And then another thing is centralization of decision making, which Koskea said. Decisions about building a bore in Triogo or in somewhere in Tangul Bay could be discussed and finalized at somewhere in Nairobi. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know, we could go to the next question. I think fast forward to the devolved system of governance. We have created, the Constitution of Kenya has created the 47 counties with fiscal powers. They have powers to raise and powers to allocate monies. So each one of you who's sitting in this panel sits in a position of a level of power to some extent, decision making. We have planners, we have the county assembly doing oversight role, we have CSOs who are also supposed to oversight and educate the public. So in our capacities, and I will start with Jackton, because you are the people who pass the budgets, what attempts have you made to address these inequalities after devolution?
Well, thank you. First and foremost is the issue of the Ward Development Fund. When devolution started, all wards were assumed to be at par, and what was done is that in the first assembly, there was a bill that was passed, the Ward Development Fund bill, which sought to ensure that all wards across the county are given a certain allocation for development purposes, specifically targeted health, education, water, and transport. In addition to that, to further address equity, the county assembly has been championing it has been championing processes that ensure inclusivity. For example, of the PWDs, of the youth and women. In that line, we find that during the budget process, you'll find that the public usually go for hardware projects, as opposed to that's brick and mortar, as opposed to software projects, which are empowerment programs. So you'll find that at the county assembly, we've strived to ensure that the empowerment programs are entrenched in the budget process. And further to that, there is the challenge that we get from the public when they do public participation. More often than not, we get that they allocate very low levels of resources to big projects, which in essence will lead to such projects not being completed on time. So the assembly tries to remedy that through adjustments of the various budgets. There's also the attempt to bring the sub-counties at par using the sub-county flagship projects, so that we have every sub-county being given a flagship project in a specific area. If it is water for Tiati, you would get roads in Baringo Central, you would get something else for Tiati, for Mogotio, maybe something else for Baringo North. Also, you know, the assembly, its work is to oversight, to represent, to approve, and to legislate. So in doing this, we also receive memoranda and petitions from the public, which are used to inform the budgeting process. So I'll leave it at that for now.
As the representative of the civil society in this panelist, are you satisfied with the efforts, especially from the county assembly, to address inequalities? And then I'll give him a right of reply.
Going back a little bit to 2013, I would want to say that there was actually participation was just in the law, that is in the County Government Act, and also in the Constitution. But practically participation of communities and people in planning and budgeting was actually was not there. But moving forward, you can see now at 2018, 2019, at least communities are participating in budget making. That is so much process. That is so much progress. And I would attribute this to some of the decisions that are being made at the executive and at the, for now, for the case of Jackton, I'll agree that the Assembly of Baringo have adopted pro-people approach. The Assembly of Baringo was actually made efforts to take the budget discussions to the ward level, earlier even than the executive. So that one for me is something that I want to agree.
Okay, before I bring in Kiprono, we have a guest panelist. It's a control county, West Pokot County. Why we brought West Pokot County, just for the sake of all of us, is that in the governor's manifesto, it's based on 3 pillars. That is education, economy, and more important to us, equity. So we'd want to hear from West Pokot. I know they mainstreamed the manifesto in the County Integrated Development Plan. How have you been able to address inequalities? Because if you look at the maps, it's not very far from what we are seeing in Baringo.
Thank you. Actually, before the current governor came, we had a lot of historical injustices and marginalization in West Pokot County. And from what you say, the governor has put the 3 E's, the equity aspect, because some part of West Pokot is actually highly marginalized compared to other part. And we have started some projects to mainstream those kind of issues. starting from the bursary aspect, whereby we provided a lot of bursary, up to 400 million in a financial year. The issue we have said, the issue of value addition again, and the corporate fund, whereby we have decided that to empower those people who are actually in the marginalized area in getting loans and fund to do their businesses. So he has enshrined the issue of equity to bring sanity and equality in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. We can have Kiprono as the executive. Has there been any attempt, especially being a planner, to redress this, because you really understand where we have come from as a county and even as a country. Now, to redress it, have you done anything?
Yeah, as I mentioned, our county was far away from the railway line. So we had so many challenges. But going forward, after the advent of devolution, we have done public participation in planning, public participation in budgeting, and public participation in the budget, all the budget cycle. So as my colleague Tumna mentioned, we started engaging the public in 2013, but I think at the moment we are among the 5 brand counties in engaging the public in planning and budgeting. So when we do the plans, all our plans from the CIDP, that is County Integrated Development Plan, the annual development plans, sector working groups, even in the budget process, we normally engage the public. So that is one way that we are trying to address these inequality issues. 2, we have moved forward under fiscal policies. Like you have heard, we created Youth Empowerment Fund, Women Empowerment Fund. We have also done, even for disabilities, though some of these functions are done equally by the national government, we look at it and said, hey, we need to do something for our people. And we also have bursaries. Though it is minimal, it is being complemented by the national government, and I think going forward, we shall address these issues. Also, we have done targeted investments through what he has mentioned, Chacton has mentioned, the flagship projects. And I think there is no sub-county that doesn't have a flagship project. And it's very important that it will address these inequalities so that we move forward together. Also, through the partnerships with several players, we have been improving governance, because you see, we cannot do executive alone without the assembly. So I think there has been a capacity building in terms of governance, so that they are able to address equity, inequalities in the society. So it is very paramount that we continue building the capacities. Also among the executives, when they come, that is the governor, the CECs and the CEOs, they are very critical in terms of equity and also equality, because they are the ones doing the implementation. And I think there has been capacity building so that they are able to address these issues. And also, when we are doing public participation, we normally do gender analysis in terms of to see also, because equity means more than just sharing resources, but also who participates. And in our plans and in our budgets, women also, and also the marginalized groups, the youth, we normally, even in registration, we normally put the segregated data so that we put them on board and we gendersize the process so that all participate in plans and budgeting.
Thank you. So, in the interest of time, now moving forward, I'm coming into this panelist having done a budget analysis. And what we are saying, actually, we have started putting structures in place. But yet, there is a lot still needs to be done, because even if you talk about the flagship projects, the distribution of the flagship projects from our analysis has not been deliberate. So very quickly, even picking from the plenary sessions before, is that if we don't have an empowered citizenry, if we don't have data, you really even saw from the video, if we don't have data to inform our resource allocation, if we don't have a policy, we will not be deliberate, and we will keep mark timing in terms of addressing the inequalities. So sitting from where you sit now, commitments that we can take forward, what do we take forward from your end? So I'll start again from Tomno, being a representative of civil society. What are we taking forward from this discussion? Very concrete steps.
Okay, very concrete steps. We have to get right at the policy level. It is much saying that we have come up with a policy, but again, these policies need to be in place in terms of being adopted by the executive and also by the assembly. I don't know, unless citizens here know, if we have an equitable policy in Baringo County. So we must come and decide that do we need to go this direction, and the only way to do that is having a policy. For example, you cannot achieve equity if you're still distributing resources equally. That is very clear. Another step that we need to do is to enhance capacity of both the citizen and also the duty bearer, who is the government. Of course, we have made with contribution from our part. The little contribution the civil society and other citizens organized groups do, they still need, even for us as government, to put money into capacity building so that this is continuous. Remember, we have challenges like transition. Every time like we elect a new assembly, we go back to square one to train our representatives. Every back we have a new government, we also go back to train. So we have to put money in capacity building.
As the chair for BACSOF, what specifically do we expect from BACSOF moving forward to push this agenda?
Baringo Civil Society Forum will work with the resources that are within Baringo County and those that are without, that is from our development partners, wherever they are, to one, carry out capacity building. We will not tire. We will not tire. If citizens will elect a new assembly, we will put money to train or to build capacity of leaders. And then number two, we will continually engage. About a survey done in 2015 showed that we were about 55% citizens aware. Meaningful change to equitable development will be achieved when all citizens, remember SDG motto of leaving no one behind, when all citizens will be aware of one, their rights, responsibilities, and obligations. So we will put our resources there, and then we will engage. We will be the middle ground between government and citizens in terms of policy development and adoption. Thank you.
West Pokot, what are you taking back to West Pokot from this deliberation?
Mine is two things. First, we must ensure political goodwill and integrity at all times, because for you to enhance that issue of equity, without integrity, we'll be cheating yourself. Two, let us redefine public participation in a manner that we incorporate, as my colleague has said. We normally talk about public participation. Public participation is not about just having people. It's having the right people in that forum, the marginalized people in that forum, and make sure that the views and the opinion that they have taken has actually reached the decision makers. Then finally, let us enhance the capacity of legislation, that is the county assemblies. Because as much as we propose the executive side about the issue of planning and equity, and the assembly doesn't aware on the importance of those plans or the projects, they'll just shoot down that budget. So I'll take that we enhance the capacity of the county assembly. Thank you.
So Kiprono, the planner, I think you talk so authoritatively about sessional paper number 10. How do we, now having learned from the mistake, having analyzed what it has brought, where it has brought us. So what do we expect so that we don't have a repeat of the same or even worse? So from you as a planner, what do we expect from you?
I don't think that we shall go back where we were, but I think only what we need moving forward, now the citizenry must take the responsibility, because we need to improve only governance, we need to improve social accountability, but in terms of resource allocation, equity must be key in terms of resource allocation, so that we make sure everyone get access to the services and the goods of the government. So I think right now, since the decisions are made within the community or at the lower level, we need only to enhance and to make sure we objectively sustain development, we objectively sustain equitable sharing of resources, and also we sustain, we get a sustainable development in our county.
So what kind of support do you expect from civil society? And the citizens are here. We have budget champions, we have civic educators, we have the county assembly here. What kind of, and partners, development partners, what support do you expect from us towards this agenda?
One, I expect from civil society to hold our leaders accountable, because I know even the civil servants to make sure that they are accountable, because these resources come from us, we are the contributors, and we need to make accountability and transparency a key word in our development. On the county assembly, you see, we planners, we anchor our plans on the policy, on acts, on those bills that have been passed by the assembly. So they should be a deliberate efforts by the assembly to make sure that this agenda is moved forward. This agenda is anchored in law, so that when we sit and plan, we plan basing on acts of parliament, that is county assembly. So I expect the Mwananchi to play his or her role in terms of social accountability, as well as those who have been elected in positions, to make sure that they implement or they work according to what the citizen has said. Thank you.
Thank you to Jackson. From you, I'll be very specific. Elgeyo Marakwet County are represented here. They have made a better attempt at equitable development by passing a law, Equitable Development Act. So sitting in the assembly, I know it will be something for deliberations for the entire house, but what are the deliberate steps that we could take and how could we support you, and what commitment are you giving to this forum towards that end?
Thank you, Evans. I think one of the key things that we will take going forward is that from the assembly side, we are going to ensure we have enabling legislation to entrench equity in the county. That may involve benchmarking to those counties that have passed bills like the Award Equalization Fund bill. We'll benchmark to see best ways of doing that. We'll also ensure that we do continuous training of both our members of county assembly and the technical wing to ensure they are abreast of what's happening in the locality. Another thing that we are going to do is that we are going to ensure that there is an increased linkage of the planning process and the budgeting process. You see, in the first assembly, we realized that there was a very poor linkage between what was planned against what was implemented vis-a-vis the budget. So we are going to ensure that we sort that out. When we are looking at places like Tiati and water deficit, one of the key reasons why we have that water deficit is because of lack of feasibility studies. We just move in and say we want a borehole here. Nobody has done any study to confirm whether the hydrological state of the area can host the water. You remember the Kenyans for Kenyans Red Cross dam that was done in Chesirimion, and then almost 200 million just fizzled off because there were no feasibility studies. So we are going to ensure that we will push the executive to ensure that before any project is launched, feasibility studies are done. We'll ensure that we budget for feasibility studies more, so that whenever any project is to be done, there is a basis, and we know that we are not going to we'll be sure that we are going to get value for money. As relates to civil society, we've been engaging a lot as the county assembly. We still encourage civil society and the citizenry to present memoranda and petitions to the assembly, and we promise to act on them. We'll also, there is something that I really wanted the CRA guy to take home. As Baringo, we've really been hard hit